The August 30th, 2010 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Esposito. Here. Mr. Monroe. Here. Mr. Hanna. Here. Chairman Holland.
Here.
Mr. McCann. Here.
Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed up for the public forum?
We have one speaker this evening. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Please conclude when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. And our speaker is Tom Gregory.
I just want to speak on the motion before you. It's basically a coordinated attempt to manage particular waters in Monroe County. I want to compliment the legislature, and especially Mr. Esposito, for the position you've taken in regards to windmill development. I know that we're not going to put windmills on Irondequoit Bay, but I think when we start looking at economic development and we look at inter-cooperation, intermunicipal cooperation amongst governments, we're not only looking at managing a resource that's currently there, but a resource that's developable. And I think here again, I have to go over the Democrat side and especially recognize your position that you took in not being in opposition to windmills, which I spoke in favor of a long time ago, based upon the fact that it is an economy that is developable, manageable, and will provide employment for our younger people. We have generations that are following us, and the state certainly looks like it's investing a lot of money into this or some interest in it. And I hope that as a complete legislature, both Republican and Democrat, that we stay on point in this and always keep in mind, if we had followed the course of the snail darter, all right, that was a little fish that was basically stopped a big dam down in Tennessee that would have provided a lot of employment for a lot of people and a lot of power. If we follow that type of approach, we're going to go extinct along with that snail darter. If we aren't looking to the future and where we can make money, where we can develop jobs for our future generations, then I think we're short-sighted. I know a lot of Republicans in particular have districts that front up the lake in there, and obviously you want to represent the people who are put you in the office that you're holding. But I think one thing is that legislators have a moral, ethical, responsibility to think about the fact that you've been put in a tough spot, and sometimes you got to make decisions or take choices, much like that which one of the legislators, who basically represents also a lakeside community. Bottom line is, I hope we stick with wind power. Well, we're developing Irondequoit Bay, but I hope we stick with wind power. It's the future for at least part of this society here, part of our people here in our county. Thank you.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the June 28, 2010 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 10-248, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, and seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion? Legislator Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, have the other towns named in this referral already passed this intermunicipal agreement?
Through the chair, yes, they have. All 3 towns have passed the intermunicipal agreement.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, I gather from the fact that this was the same agreement was previously entered into in 1985 and 1997, that this is something that is set to be renewed by these 3 towns in this county every dozen years or so. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. It's been probably 5 to 10 years for each agreement.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, is there anything noteworthy or different in this latest iteration of the harbor management plan that this committee and the county legislature should be made aware of? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, it continues the relationship pretty much the same as it was established in 85. It does recognize some of the accomplishments that have occurred with the harbor management plan and the laws that were adopted, but the relationship and the agreement is pretty much the same as it was back in 85 and 97.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, could you just give a brief description of what the harbor management plan is, what the county would need to implement, and how it's used by all of the signatories of this agreement?
Through the chair, the harbor management plan was finished back in 2003. It was funded through a grant from the New York State Department of State. It was a joint application among the three towns and the county. The town of Arundecoit was the lead, and it really focused on issues related to the water surface use and the shoreline. And the goal was to coordinate the three towns and the issues and the response to development pressure and other issues such as conflict among users of the bay in a unified, consistent manner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, the IBCC and the IBTS, were those two organizations involved in the original plan?
Through the chair, yes, they were. And again, it was the three supervisors and the county executive as members of the IBCC. The technical staff is really a technical support to that group.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, how were the members of these committees assigned?
Well, the agreement through the chair. The agreement calls for the membership of the IBCC to be the three town supervisors and the county executive or designee. The technical staff is a little broader. It includes other county agencies such as the Health Department, Parks Department, and also significantly to the agreement, it recognizes the New York State Department of State as well as the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Although they're not signatories to the agreement, they're very active members and significant members of the technical staff and have a lot of input.
Okay, so again, through you, Mr. Chairman, there's a significant county representation in these two committees.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration, the referral indicates that there's no impact on the expenditures of the county through this referral. What's the total cost to the municipalities involved in this agreement?
Through the chair, there really is no cost other than in-kind support of existing staff. Occasionally, there will be a project undertaken where the municipalities may finance a portion of the project, like for a grant, matching funds for a grant. But there's nothing in the works in that regard. And as the agreement is in place, it really doesn't cost anything other than the in-kind services of existing staff.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
through you, Mr. Chair, just kind of to piggyback on that, is staff time that's taken away from some other duty that they could be performing for either the county or one of the municipalities involved?
Through the chair, it is existing staff, and this has been in operation for 25 years. And as a matter of fact, the responsibility and input from the county is probably diminished somewhat over the years, with the municipalities taking a more active role. But it is existing staff, and it's existing staff time.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Item carries. Is there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no further business, the August 30th, 2010 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee is scheduled for September 27th, 2010. Adjourned.